Good evening. Thanks for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines tonight. Staring at under-recoveries of more than 1 lakh crore rupees, oil marketing companies are likely to seek the government's intervention. Industry sources say they need a price hike of up to 15 rupees a litre of diesel to bridge the under-recoveries. That's the big CNBC-TV18 exclusive tonight. Elon Musk's $44 billion acquisition of Twitter is nearing closure. Reports suggest Musk has informed his co-investors to help with funding to wrap up the deal by this week. Google's parent company Alphabet misses estimates in the third quarter due to a decline in advertising revenue. Microsoft also reports weaker revenue from its cloud business and warns that full-year revenue growth could be soft. The new British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak defends the appointment of Suella Braverman as his Home Secretary after she resigned last week for sending sensitive documents using her private email. Says Braverman will control the borders and keep immigration in check. The fiscal plan to reassure the markets has been delayed by 2 weeks to the 17th of November. The CEO of Tata Steel, TV Narendran, says time is running out for its UK business, hopes the British government will take a call on funding soon, adds the breathing space is vanishing and time for other stakeholders to chip in. Dabur meets estimates in the second quarter with a 1% volume growth, even as profits declined by nearly 3%. Also enters the spices segment with the acquisition of 66-year-old iconic brand Badshah Masala for nearly 600 crore rupees. Passenger vehicle sales report a solid 40% growth in the festive season. Two-wheeler sales also report double-digit growth, but entry-level vehicles continue to struggle. On the campaign trail in Himachal Pradesh, Chief Minister Jairam Thakur tells CNBC-TV18 political difference is the basis of the protest by apple farmers in the state, but he also admits that the government benefits did not reach some people. That's a CNBC-TV18 election exchange exclusive. Mallikarjun Kharge takes charge as the first non-Gandhi president of the Congress party in 24 years. Outgoing President Sonia Gandhi says she's feeling relieved and tried to fulfill the responsibility to the best of her ability. Well, let's start with the big CNBC-TV18 exclusive tonight. Industry sources tell CNBC-TV18 that oil marketing companies are grappling with huge under-recoveries to the tune of over 1 lakh crore rupees by selling fuel and LPG at current rates. The industry is likely to approach the government seeking relief. Sapna Das is standing by with the details. Sapna, take us through what the current under-recoveries are, for instance, on diesel, and more importantly, what could be the options before the government?
The balance sheet of oil marketing companies is under tremendous pressure because of soaring international prices and a price freeze in the domestic market. According to industry estimates, the backlog of under-recoveries on fuel and LPG is pegged at a massive 1 lakh crore. Hit by these mounting under-recoveries, government-owned fuel retailers like IOC, BPCL, HPCL may very soon be knocking on the government's doors for an intervention yet again. The government, of course, just this month agreed to give 22,000 crores to the OMCs on LPG under-recoveries. This direct fiscal support for OMCs for LPG losses was possible since the LPG price is regulated. But it makes good only a part of the problem. To come out of this dire situation, industry is now estimating a 10 to 15 rupees price increase, particularly on diesel. The other option is the government lowers the excise duty, but only for oil marketers. The duty cut is not passed on to the consumers by way of lower prices. However, the realization for the OMCs goes up through this method. Even the option of a calibrated increase in fuel prices may be considered only from next year onwards. High inflation and state elections in the current calendar will work against any talk of a price hike at this stage. All in all, there are too few options to bring the balance sheets of OMCs back to life. Direct fiscal support to the OMCs on fuel under-recoveries is not possible as petrol-diesel prices are deregulated, so to speak. But eventually, the government will have to take a call on either a price increase or lowering excise, or maybe even a combination of both.
All right, Sapna, many thanks for joining us. That is the big CNBC-TV18 exclusive tonight. Oil marketing companies under pressure. On to the big global earnings. Google's parent company Alphabet missed market estimates for quarterly revenue. The drop comes as advertisers were cut back on their spending amidst an economic slowdown. Total revenue coming in at over $69 billion in the third quarter versus analyst expectations of more than $70 billion. From one tech giant to another, Microsoft surpassing street estimates both on the top and bottom line. However, the company's cloud revenue was lower than expected, indicating that the full-year revenue growth could be softer. On guidance, the company sees $53 billion in revenue for the next quarter, which is around $3 billion lower than street estimates. Deutsche Bank reporting a better-than-expected jump in its profits for the 9th straight quarter despite high interest rates and a volatile market. The company has reported a net income of over $1 billion, revenue rising 15% year-on-year to nearly $7 billion. The bank's CEO said that they are well on track to meet the 2022 goals. Back home, FMCG player Dabur met street estimates with second quarter numbers with a 1% volume growth, even as profits declined by nearly 3%. The company has also announced that it will acquire a 51% stake in Badshah Masala for over 587 crores. The acquisition is expected to be completed before the 31st of March. The big global story hours after taking over as the Prime Minister of the UK, Rishi Sunak got down to business with the cabinet reshuffle. Now, while he has removed several ministers from the Truss cabinet, Sunak brought back two prominent faces who were sacked by the former Prime Minister, including Dominic Raab as the new Deputy Prime Minister and Suella Braverman as the new Home Secretary. Answering questions by opposition party members in Parliament today, Sunak defended Braverman's return, saying she has acknowledged her mistake and has also apologised. He added that Braverman is going to be focused on controlling our borders and not unlimited immigration. In his first address, Sunak has also warned of difficult decisions ahead. He was expected to unveil the economic vision on the 31st of October, but that has now been delayed and it will be on the 17th of November, so a delay of 2 weeks. Among his first moves, the Prime Minister made phone calls to US President Joe Biden and Ukrainian President Zelensky. Take a look.
The Home Secretary made an error of judgment, but she recognised that. She raised the matter and she accepted her mistake. And that's why I was delighted to welcome back into a united cabinet that brings experience and stability to the heart of government. And let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, what the Home Secretary will be focused on. She'll be focused on cracking down on criminals, on defending our borders, while the party opposite remains soft on crime and in favour of unlimited immigration.
His debut as Prime Minister taking questions in Parliament, that is Rishi Sunak. Now, according to a survey by u.gov, just 25% of Britons expect Sunak to be a great or even a good Prime Minister, but 68% expect him to do a better job as Prime Minister than Liz Truss. Sanjay Suri brings us a report on how Indians in UK are reacting to Sunak's victory.
What are we ready for? Rishi! What are we ready for? Rishi!
Rishi Sunak fans gathered outside Parliament on Tuesday to celebrate his prime ministership in the good old Indian way.
He's going to bring the whole community together, bring all the Conservative Party together and make it a success. We are going to win the next elections as well. You want me to have a laddu as well? Wow, there we are. This is for you, Rishi.
Many gathered here had campaigned long for Rishi Sunak.
One of the questions I asked him, I said, you are so rich, your family is so rich, why are you wanting to be a Prime Minister of this country? He said, Vivek, Narayan Murthy, he's his father, Infosys guy is his father-in-law. He said, he told me, Rishi, you have so many good ideas, but these ideas will always not germinate until or unless you are in power. These politicians hold a lot of power. If you join politics, do the changes which you want, it will be the best for any country.
We are ready for
Rishi! Rishi Sunak clearly has fans going beyond Britain.
Congratulations, Rishi. I'm so thrilled that you become the Prime Minister. I've always looked at you from where I've come. I've come from New Zealand, and now I can't believe you are the PM. This is really good news.
It wasn't that long back that a group of Indians were gathered here at Westminster Square and promising Rishi Jeeta to Laddu Bantenge. I don't see them here, but there are lots of others here, and what's more, the Laddus are here.
Well, plenty of excitement there in the diaspora. Now, as Rishi Sunak makes his first moves, the CEO of Tata Steel says time is running out for the company's UK business. Speaking exclusively to me, TV Narendran, the global CEO of Tata Steel, said the breathing space is vanishing. He hopes the UK government will take a decision on funding soon. Conversations are currently on. Take a look.
I think there's a new government, so we'll wait for the new government to be in place, and we will continue the conversations that we've had with the previous governments. And I think we will look forward to an early resolution, because obviously with high energy costs and the economic situation in Europe, the business, which is inherently fragile, will struggle going forward unless we take some calls very quickly.
Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that these are difficult calls that will have to be taken. But given the precarious position that the UK government finds itself at this point in time and the economy finds itself, it is fiscally constrained. Is there hope or confidence that there could perhaps be a resolution by way of funding coming in from the UK government?
So, Shireen, there are two important things to keep in mind. Firstly, we are a very important part of the value chain in the UK. Right? So it's not just about Tata Steel. We supply more than 50% of the steel used by the auto industry in UK. We supply more than 50% of the steel used by many construction companies in the UK. We supply a lot of the steel used by the packaging companies in UK. So we are a very important part of the value chain in UK, and hence there should be an interest in beyond Tata Steel's interests, right? So that is one part. The second part is, if you look at governments across Europe, governments are supporting industry in this transition to a greener future, right? This transition cannot be done without government support. So there is policy support, which is coming in Europe, and hopefully UK will also have the same policy support. The second part is the government support for the expenditure that you need to incur to transition into a greener future. And our submission to the government has also been that what we have submitted is a business plan which can help Tata Steel transition into a greener future, but obviously it can't be done without support from the government. So I think that's where we are. I think so there is, from our point of view, there is enough logic, but obviously the government has to see the logic from their perspective as well. And of course, we are a very important part of the Welsh economy. We are one of the biggest employers in the UK. And it's not just the direct jobs that we create, it's the indirect jobs. And typically in the steel industry, for every steel industry job, there are 4 to 5 indirect jobs which are created.
Yes, you talked about the employment generated on account of the business that you run, and of course the value chain implications as well. But as part of this business plan that you have submitted, and given the current predicament that the business finds itself in, what is the kind of financial support that you expect from the UK government to be able to turn this around?
No, I don't want to get into specifics of that, but generally the ask from most steel companies to their governments across Europe is at least 50% of the capex that needs to be spent needs to be supported by the government. On top of that, there needs to be support on OPEX to the extent of the differential in energy costs when you move from the current energy sources to new energy sources. I think these are the fundamental principles, not just for Tata Steel, but pretty much all steel companies in Europe have been talking to their governments about, and so that's as much as I can say now without getting into the specifics.
I understand, but at this point in time, is there any possibility that the India business, your India business, may also have to fund, the UK business in any form or fashion? Is that at all a possibility at this point in time?
I think the position we've taken and which we've been saying for some time is each of our businesses need to stand on its own. We have supported the business for a long time. We have invested a lot of money over the years in trying to keep the business going. But I think now it's time for other stakeholders also to chip in.
Mm-hmm. And I understand that you are still in the process of negotiations and conversations, and there is a new government. But is there any indication of when a decision is likely to be taken on this front? How much runway do you have at this point in time as far as the business is concerned? By when would you like the government to take a call on this? And if there isn't going to be the transition package that you seek, what then? Will it be easy to find a buyer in an environment like this?
So, Shireen, obviously the time available is depleting by the day, because we had a year when the steel prices were good, the spreads were good, the business could stand on its own. That gave us some breathing space, but that breathing space is rapidly vanishing because of the high energy costs in Europe and the macroeconomic conditions in Europe and UK. right? So we don't have much time, So we need to get to this decision sooner than later, and I think that's been a submission to the earlier governments, and there'll be a submission to the new government. What are the options that we will pursue or discuss when we reach there?
Well, that is the global CEO of Tata Steel, TV Narendran, saying time is running out as far as its UK business is concerned, hoping that they can arrive at a resolution with the UK government as far as funding is concerned. In other international news, Elon Musk is preparing to close the deal to buy Twitter for $44 billion by Friday. According to Reuters, Musk has notified his co-investors to help with funding to finalize the deal. After a bitter war of words with Twitter, Musk is also staring at a legal battle after he attempted to back out of the proposed deal. He will have to stand trial if the deal does not close by Friday. Luxury car maker Mercedes-Benz has become the latest company to exit Russia following the escalation of the attack on Ukraine. The car maker will sell its shares to a local investor in Russia. Other auto giants including Nissan, Toyota and Renault also exited Russia after the invasion. Tech giant Google has responded to the Competition Commission's second penalty of 936 crore rupees for abuse of dominant market position. Google claims that Indian developers have benefited from Google's low-cost model, which has powered India's digital transformation and expanded access for millions of Indians. The tech giant has said it remains committed to users and developers and is reviewing the decision to evaluate its next steps. Now, the festive season has been a mixed bag for the auto sector. While passenger cars have reported a solid 40% growth over last year, entry-level vehicles continue to struggle. Parikshit standing by with the festive season report card. Parikshit.
That's right. Overall, the auto sector is expected to post a minimum growth of 40% year-on-year during this festive period, which began on the 26th of September with Navratri and went all the way up to Diwali and Bhai Dooj. The passenger car sales were the real driver of growth for the automotive sector. 400,000 cars were delivered during the last 1 month. This is what sources tell us. Maruti Suzuki, according to industry sources, saw a 45% year-on-year increase in festive sales at 190,000 units. For Maruti, the biggest sellers were Alto, Wagoner, Baleno during this period, and the company has an order book of 440,000 units as of now. Very strong demand for the SUV segment, led by the XUV 700, the Scorpio N, the Creta, the Harrier, the Safari, the Seltos, the Carens, and the Vitara as well. In the luxury segment, Mercedes-Benz saw a 15% year-on-year growth during the festive period. They delivered 800 cars on Diwali, 600 on Dhanteras. They also feel that the demand momentum will continue in the coming months because they received 1,000 bookings in the festive period alone. When it comes to two-wheelers, it's really a mixed bag. While the retailers expect a double-digit growth in two-wheeler festive sales overall, the sale of entry-level commuter bikes and entry-level scooters continues to be under stress.
That is Parikshit Luthra reporting on the festive season report card for the auto sector. Time for us to head into a break, but up next on the campaign trail in Himachal, Chief Minister Jairam Thakur tells CNBC-TV18 political difference is the basis of the protest by apple farmers in the state. That and more when we return. You're watching India Business Hour. London-based satellite company OneWeb was forced to halt the launch of 36 satellites using Russian rockets after the Ukraine invasion. The company filed for bankruptcy following the pandemic. However, the Bharti Group, along with the UK government, bought the company and kept it afloat. Russia's loss was India's gain as the Indian Space Research Organisation, or ISRO, placed its 36 satellites in orbit just a few days ago. Ashwit Kumar spoke with Shravan Mittal, the MD of Bharti Global, on OneWeb's plan to rival the likes of Elon Musk's Starlink, among others. Take a look.
OneWeb's mission is to provide internet connectivity to areas you just cannot reach. So as we mentioned, think about going into areas of Alaska, northern parts of the UK, Middle America, Middle Africa, parts of India where coverage is not available. So the mission is really how do you get the 2 billion people that are not connected with the internet connected. So that's really the first mission. Now, when it comes to speed, our aim is to have a latency of 70 milliseconds.
You'll be competing with some very big players. We're talking about the likes of Starlink. We're talking about the likes of Amazon Skipper. I'm not sure if I have the name right, the pronunciation. But you get the drift. The question I want to ask is, how are you looking at this competition in terms of, is the pie big enough? Or are you expecting tough competition from some of these players?
Well, I think the competition is indeed large. It's sizable and well-capitalized competitors as well. But look, our focus really is we have a finite amount of capacity, 1.1 terabits. Our aim is to really sell that capacity.
Is there room available for further investment? Mr. Mittal mentioned that it's a zero-debt company, OneWeb, so far. So does that provide you perhaps more breathing room to go ahead to raise more funds?
Yes, absolutely. I think we have taken a big bet here as a family being the largest shareholder of OneWeb. I think the company is well capitalized at the moment. I think the combination with Eutelsat will really make this a formidable company, providing both GEO and LEO services. We, as Chairman mentioned, we don't have debt at the moment. So as we start generating revenue starting next year and scaling that revenue up into hundreds of millions, and the ability to raise debt is available. And then we'll explore those options as and when needed.
Shravan Mittal there on OneWeb's plans. On to election exchange. One of the largest apple-growing states in the country is getting ready for polls. Himachal Pradesh is gearing up for single-phase assembly elections on the 12th of November. Apple farmers have been protesting in the state for the last few days against low procurement price. Sante Gora caught up with the Chief Minister Jairam Thakur. He says that protests by apple growers are due to political differences. He also says the demands to restore the old pension scheme will be met if the BJP is re-elected to power.
इसमें सभी तरह के बागबान थे ऐसा भी नहीं था। ये राजनीतिक दृष्टि से कुछ लोग इकट्ठा होकर के इसको मुद्दा बनाने की फिराक में थे, कोशिश में थे और उन्होंने कोशिश की भी। जहाँ तक जीएसटी की इंक्रीज जो पैकेजिंग मटेरियल में और जो पेस्टिसाइड्स में आप कह रहे हैं, तो उस बात को लेकर सिर्फ इतना ही है। उस मामले को हमने केंद्र के समक्ष उठाया था और ये जीएसटी काउंसिल तय करती है। जो 6% की जो इंक्रीज उसमें आई थी पैकेजिंग मटेरियल में, उसके लिए हमने इंश्योर किया कि हम हिमाचल प्रदेश की ओर से उस 6% का जो इंक्रीज़ हुआ उसको हम बियर करेंगे और सब्सिडी देंगे। और उसमें हमने जो मैकेनिज्म डेवलप किया था उसमें से बहुत सारे बागबान आए भी जो जेन्युइन जो है, जिनने सारी बात को ठीक तरह से समझा और जिनको लगा कि इस तरह से रास्ता सरकार ने निकाला है हमारी समस्या के समाधान के लिए, उसमें हमको मदद करनी चाहिए। तो उन्होंने आकर के काम किया और उसमें उनको जिन्होंने क्लेम किया है और जस्टिफाइड तरीके से किया है और डॉक्यूमेंट्स के साथ किया है, तो उनको तो मदद कर रहे हैं।
पिछले 5 साल में हम कहाँ मार खा गए कि आंकड़ा बढ़ता गया, हिमाचल प्रदेश 8वें नंबर तक पहुंच गया बेरोजगारी में, और अब अगले 5 साल में एग्जैक्ट कितने जॉब्स का आप प्रॉमिस कर रहे हैं युवाओं को?
देखिए, हमने इन 5 साल के कार्यकाल में भी अगर जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ की अगर हम बात करें तो हमने लगभग 60,000 का आंकड़ा टच किया है, जो पीछे की तुलना में बहुत ज़्यादा है, कंपैरेटिवली बहुत ज़्यादा है। हम कुल मिलाकर के जो कांग्रेस के लोग बोल रहे हैं कि हम इतने लोगों को, तो हम एक ही बात कह रहे हैं कि इन 5 सालों में हमने एक आंकड़ा हमने टच करने की कोशिश की लगभग 60,000 के लगभग, और आने वाले समय में हमारा टारगेट 1 लाख से पार होगा।
सत्ता के गलियारों में ये भी बातचीत है कि हिमाचल प्रदेश चुनाव को ध्यान में रखते हुए ओपीएस जो है, ओल्ड पेंशन स्कीम को फिर से लाया जाएगा। कितनी सच्चाई है इन बातों में सर?
देखिए, कर्मचारियों के हित के लिए हमने जो बेस्ट पॉसिबल किया जा सकता था वो किया है हिमाचल में, और अभी भी हमारी कोशिश है कि इसका कोई रास्ता निकला है। हम लगातार गंभीर चर्चा में हैं, के दौर में हैं इस वक्त केंद्र सरकार के साथ कि ओपीएस का कोई फार्मूला हम आने वाले समय के लिए वर्कआउट करें ताकि कर्मचारियों के भविष्य को लेकर के जो चिंता उसका समाधान हो सके, और ऐसा प्रयास हमारा है। और
उम्मीद है कि ओपीएस वापस आ सकती है हिमाचल?
मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि ओपीएस आए, चाहे ओपीएस का इसका कोई एक सॉल्यूशन कोई निकले, कोई रास्ता निकल आए, और वो निकलेगा तभी जब केंद्र सरकार इसमें आगे बढ़ कर के मदद करेगी। और केंद्र में भाजपा की सरकार है, मोदी जी देश के प्रधानमंत्री, आने वाले कई दशकों तक अभी तक में रहने वाले हैं। इसलिए कर्मचारियों को मुझे लगता है कि इनके झांसे में नहीं आना चाहिए। हकीकत यही है, सच्चाई यही है। इसका कोई रास्ता निकलेगा तो रास्ता निकालने में हम ही इसमें सफल हो पाएंगे, बाकी नहीं।
Well, that is the current Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh on the polls that will kick off its single-phase assembly election there, Santiagora, on the election exchange. Teen pregnancies remain a big problem for India. From 7.9% in 2015-16, the percentage of teens aged between 15 to 19 who are already mothers or have begun bearing a child has slipped only marginally to 6.8% in 2019 to 21. That's as per data collected by the National Family Health Survey. Experts agree that there are many possible solutions to this problem, one of them being better sex education in schools. But CNBC-TV18's Kiran Khatri finds out that this avenue continues to face a lot of resistance.
$53,874. That's the number of cases registered under the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act in 2021. These cases make up 35% of the total crimes against children recorded that year. And experts believe, while it's by no means a silver bullet, one possible method of bringing down this number could start with the Indian school system itself, by making sex education an intrinsic part of the curriculum. They argue that this should start from primary classes itself.
From the time a child is 1, you can talk about body parts, privacy, safety, consent, boundaries, body autonomy, and periods and stuff like that. But to talk about sex or baby making, you can wait till the child is 5 or 6 or even 7.
But they add that sex education should not stop there, and in higher classes should go beyond just AIDS awareness and the clinical explanations of menstruation and sexual intercourse, which are largely restricted to biology textbook.
We could definitely look at including more information around changes that are happening in their body, in their mind during adolescence. Of course, menstrual hygiene management, nutrition, consent and violence concepts that they are exploring as they are growing, about body diversity.
What the importance of sex education is? Some schools have incorporated such subjects in their curriculum. These secondary school children in Chennai, for instance, are taught sex education in class as part of their curriculum. But schools like these are few and far between.
We are doing this session in a very renowned public school of Delhi, or in काफी branches in pan India even. Mid of the session, teachers ने आके ये sessions बंद करा दिया. And child sexual abuse session is a very light session. वो बीच में उनको लगा कि नहीं, आपको ये देना ही नहीं है, और उस स्कूल ने अपनी सभी branches में हम लोगों को completely ban कर दिया.
One big problem experts say is that sex education as a subject is not mandated by either the centre or state governments. And even states that do want the subject included in their schools lay down restrictive conditions.
Currently, a particular state government, I don't want to tell, they have reached out for a small curriculum on sex education for 9th and above. And this was their, condition, ma'am, we don't want to talk about sex, okay? So without sex, can you create a curriculum on sex education? We have to talk about sex at one point, because many other subjects related to sexuality health is connected to the act of sex.
The HRD Ministry's new National Education Policy released in 2020 made no mention of sex education. For this, there are two government-led initiatives: the Adolescence Education Program by the CBSE and the School Health Program. But a review of the curricula of these two programs by the Population Foundation of India found that topics like violence and abuse, sexually transmitted diseases, gender identities, and menstrual irregularities are inadequately covered. They also skip topics like consent and contraception. Experts also say that the need for sex education has increased, with more students, both in primary and secondary classes, gaining greater online access, especially in the aftermath of the COVID lockdowns.
Statistics say between the ages of 8 and 10 children see some pornographic material. So parents want to know how to guide. They very frantically, they give me calls asking, ma'am, I know they have seen something. I know she's watching something. I know he's going through something. I want to talk about it. My first question is, have you spoken about sex?
Despite the rise in child sexual abuse cases and teenage pregnancies, there is no law in India that mandates comprehensive sexuality education. In July this year, the Kerala High Court said that it is time for state authorities to re-examine the sex education imparted in schools. It made this observation while permitting a 13-year-old rape survivor to terminate her 30-week pregnancy. But a review does not guarantee that it will be included, And experts say that this huge gap in the Indian educational system will lead to bigger problems down the line. In Mumbai, Kiran Khatri.
Our colleague Kiran Khatri there reporting in our latest installment of our special series, Get Schooled. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned. More news continues right here on CNBC-TV18.